The more I learn about reality, the more I realize that it's not what we think it is at all. My journey is taking me from sort of like the Afro-Asiatic roots of Western civilization, Afrocentrism, politics, the shadow governments and shadow institutions that quote unquote are behind the curtain, to the esoteric nature of reality, metaphysics, astronomy, all the rest of it. And I've come to the conclusion that we are pieces of God. I've said this in other videos, right? That are playing a game, but we've just forgotten that we are that. And we've convinced ourselves so much that we are nothing, that the notion of being a piece of God actually is outlandish for some people. Some people find that blasphemous. But they can hold the opposing thought of them being worthless humans, or humans that don't have any value. They can hold that easily. But to hold the opposing side, no. So anyway, I started to think about The Matrix, the movie, right? Because now everyone talks about The Matrix like it's in vogue. We've been talking about The Matrix for like 10 plus years, but it's cool. I think there's been more of a collective kind of awareness to certain things, but I think naturally, I call them the timeless ones, the ones that are not born and don't die, they come here to just experience. I think the more of them awaken, it causes like a ripple in the fabric of reality. So then therefore the screen has to make allowances. When I say they, I'm referring to the illusion, which is this place, right? So it got me thinking about The Matrix, and I realized that the whole story of The Matrix took place in Neo's mind. And I haven't seen the movie in a while, but I remember he was asleep, or he was falling asleep, and he was waiting for some hackers to come and see him, right? Or something like this. And he paid them. And the guy called him, there's like an esoteric quote there where the guy says, "Oh man, you're my personal Jesus Christ," or something like this, which is a reference to all of us, because it's a reference to Christ consciousness. So Neo, let's look at his life. He had a normal job as a programmer, I think. By night, he was a hacker. So he was against the system. He was anti the machine. He supported groups that were against the system, the resistance movements. That was what was happening in his 3D reality. That was the story that the timeless entity called Neo came to experience in order for him to find himself. That was the story, the narrative, yeah? So he falls asleep, and he's in a basement, right? Which is also allegory, because in a basement means he's in the lower states. He's in his lower form. Yeah. Okay. And when he's in his highest form, what does he do? He flies, right? This is all allegory. I'm telling you, these sorts of things that are in reality that just don't seem to go away, right? Like the Bible, The Matrix, movies like They Live and stuff like that. They stay for a reason. Because like I've said, the illusion itself is not intrinsically bad or good. It's neutral. It just responds to your fear. That's all it does. So anyway, going further, he's in the basement. He sees a white rabbit, which is it kind of ties in with, because Keanu Reeves is a star, literally he's either from a star system, or he plays the role of a star here. And that star is Sirius. Everything he does revolves around the star Sirius. If you don't know about the star Sirius, is the dog star. And even John Wick, what's the whole story about? Somebody kills his dog, right? And following the white rabbit, even in the movie, there's another scene as well. And when he goes to see the boy with a spoon, there's a rabbit on the screen, which ties in with Sirius, because Sirius, being the dog star, is followed by the rabbits in the sky. You see it. Anyway, even in all his movies, Constantine, I can talk about this for hours. But there's a channel that does some really good work on it, Influence Freedom, I think. I've been following her. She used to be on YouTube, like old YouTube, and she used to talk about this sort of stuff. I took a lot of stuff from her. So he sees a white rabbit, which is reminiscent of Alice in Wonderland, or, you know, going down the rabbit hole, which is basically going into the illusion. So the minute that door opens, right, and he hands over that guy that disc, there's a transaction. Okay, so here is my, you know, we can have that, we can look at that disc as, here is the real me. Yeah, I'm giving it to the illusion. And I'm going to go play the character, and I'm going to go follow the white rabbit into La La Land. Yeah. Then he goes, and the whole thing happens, and the machines and the blah, 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 blah. And people get so caught up in the machine world and all the rest of it, and the architect, and Neo is the architect. Neo himself is the architect. Neo is the analyst. It's him. All of it is just what do you call it? Projections from his own mind. There was a book in his room where he took the disc called Simulations and Simulacra, which is a book that talks about how the whole world is illusion, right? And that's where he takes that disc, you know, giving it to the illusion, or that the people that came to his door could be representative of the people that were taking him into the illusion. So the white rabbit, he follows them, and he goes and he meets the love of his life, and all the rest happens. He loses her, which causes him heartbreak. And he has to challenge himself. You know, if you look at him in the 3D world, he wasn't physically strong. He wasn't physically fit. But in this dream world, he became those things because he wanted to experience what it felt like being on the side of, you know, the resistance that he always believed in, right? And his job was to go out there and essentially walk the walk and talk the talk, and, you know, experience love and all the rest of it, heartbreak and loss and all the rest of it. And through that process, he ascended to become the one. That's it, the end. All the other stuff we're talking about is just, we're talking about the illusion. It's like when I make videos talking about the government and the system, and we can talk about it forever because it's an endless rabbit hole. It's an illusion. It's a very complex illusion. You can't ever get to the bottom of it. You can't get to the bottom of the Bilderberg Group. You will talk until you die. You can't get to the bottom of the World Economic Forum. You can't get to the bottom of Area 51. You can't get to the bottom of the shadow government. You can't get to the bottom of the Freemasons. You can't get to the bottom of the Oddfellows, the Illuminati. You cannot. It's an endless loop. You would just go in there. You'll be in there for 50 years, come out, and you wouldn't know anything. You come out knowing less than what you did before you went in. Believe me. So he ascends and he becomes the one, right? And then part 4 is basically the whole story told again. Is the whole story told again. And that's why the story has to go back to the beginning. So he's playing another role, this time as a video game creator. So he creates simulations. He creates illusions now. So he's now on the side of the illusion creation people. That's why he works with Smith. And Smith is essentially his shadow self. That's why they're so equally matched. Smith is just a shadow. Your shadow is the only thing that can beat you up to the ground and know all your tricks is your shadow. Because it's you. That's why when Spider-Man fights Venom, it's like hell. It literally is like hell because he is fighting his shadow, you know. So anyway, he comes back and he's created this new simulation, but then he's getting flashbacks. And those people, the people that have been reincarnated or have gone through near-death experiences know what I'm talking about. You get flashbacks. Bro, I get flashbacks of places and people and things that I've never seen before in my waking life. Like sometimes, especially when I'm in the sat state of sleep where you're not fully gone, you're kind of in between. You know, I find myself in places and I'm like, that's the memory, but it's not my memory as far as I remember. So he comes back and he's still got memories from the previous world, i.e. his previous iteration as the one. He died that time, didn't he? So he gets recycled, he comes back. Because for him, it was all about, it's a love story, you know, and this whole thing, yeah, a lot of this kind of like people, you know, God coming here to, because God is unconditional love. God is love. Yeah. It's all about finding and feeling and experiencing love. A lot of it, because you're fighting for your part of a resistance, blah, blah, blah. Why? Because you love them. You love humanity. You love people. You love what's right. Do you understand? That's where it comes from. You know, so a lot of us are searching because it's the same thing. We're no different. So anyway, he comes back. And this time, like, when he comes back, he's kind of like, he's not quite sure if he's himself. He doesn't even look like himself. And, you know, so he's playing the game. But this time he's a bit older before he starts to get the itch. You know, so it takes a bit of a time to convince him, right? And even in the game, he created the Matrix. So the Matrix, as we know it, is a simulation. The whole story is a fiction in the second reality, where in Matrix 4, the whole movie from start to finish is fake. It's just a projection of someone's mind, and he's created a video game out of it. Right? Because he felt like he knew it. It's like something he'd seen. So he wrote, it's like when people write books and the books like do really well. And it's like, where did it come from? They don't know. They've lived it in another timeline. That's all it is. So in Matrix 4, the whole first 3 Matrix, all of it is just a illusion. So it's not that far-fetched that the first part is illusion, because in the part 4, they literally tell you that the whole thing's an illusion in his mind. Right? But then as time progresses, again, love. He comes across the woman. Yeah, he comes across that love that he wants to experience again. And it glitches him. So now, through that whole thing, again, it then makes that reality real. He goes inside, he experiences it, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of it, again, because of the love thing and, you know, the need to, you know, experience it and, you know, whatever, get to the, you know, experience it in its fullness, he becomes the one again. He ascends again. That's it. The whole movie is about ascension. It's about you, really. It's about everyone. And, you know, it's outside the grace of God. You know, I say this all the time. You know, nobody's doomed. Like even our villains in this illusion screen, they have a purpose. We put them there. We put them there. On a physical 3D level, we put them there by elections, right? But on a metaphysical level, we put them there due to the illusion creation. We created the illusion, and we wanted there to be power structures and stuff like that. We did all of this. We created the whole entire maze. I'm telling you, once you get to this realization, you realize that a lot of stuff that you're fighting about, arguing about, is literally pointless. You're asleep having a full argument in a dream. How does that make sense? When you wake up, that thing you're arguing about doesn't exist in this dimension called consciousness. It does not. Simply doesn't. It's over there. Anyway, have a good day. And another thing I forgot to add about Neo is, you see, psychologically, the mind, right? The ego mind, which controls a lot of your thoughts. That's why you get these crazy thoughts. That's your kind of like your lower side. Can only, and that's why they said in the movie, like, some people can't be woken up after a certain point, yeah? And it's not because of their age, it's because of their psychological attachments, is the nature of the brain. Like when I tell a child that, hey, listen, you're a piece of God that's actually come here to experience life, they'll literally be like, yeah, that's plausible, yeah, because their brain is so in tune with the infinite that it makes no difference. The consciousness, should I say. But as people pull themselves further and further away from consciousness, it becomes harder, right? So let me give you an example of what I mean in terms of how your brain has to be in alignment with what you want to see in order for you to see it. Because, like, let me give you an example. Let's say Neo was not a hacker, yeah? And even being a hacker, for someone to randomly type on your page, Neo, someone writes your name, randomly hacks your computer, writes your name, and then tells you to follow the white rabbit. Like, most people would use the ego mind and say, no, I'm not going. That's weird. Turn off the laptop, shut it down, whatever, right? But there was something in him in the moment when those words popped up on his screen that he knew he had to do it. It's almost like he left himself clues in the reality. So the synchronicities, the signs and symbols that you see, the things, it's like you have to be open to them. You know, you have to be open to the doors in order for the doors to open, right? Otherwise you will not see the doors. You know, and living in the 3D locks you out of the doors because everything has to make sense. And all these people, like your politicians, your scientists, your elected officials, all these illusionists, yeah, their job is to get you to navigate the labyrinth on a predetermined, pre-approved, pre-authorized path. That's simply their job. Because most people who are not conscious or who are not consciousness and are far removed from it, they're basically NPCs. If you leave them to their own devices, their brains cannot fathom the labyrinth, and a lot of them will end up killing themselves, destroying themselves, because they're just not that in tune with it. Whereas the ones that are in tune, they'll find a way to navigate anyway. So it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all system. And that's why if you look at society, it's one-size-fits-all. Exams are, you know, they set you an exam, which is one-size-fits-all. Yeah. You know, the education system, one-size-fits-all, because it has to accommodate for the sleeping, the awakening, and those with the potential to awaken. It has to cover all the bases. That's what it is. So yeah, man, I just added on to the video.